You bastards. All right. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're actually live. What's going on, everybody? My name is Justin Thomas from Top Shelf Fandom. This is after the after show because I said one isn't good enough. We're now freaking Bravo. So we're doing it up. So we're gonna have people talking about this show after. Like, I thought Justin was a little bit of a dick, and then yeah, hopefully I'll have some fucking person defending me. But no, we got a round table of guests here. I wanted to separate this from the stream because this will be a little bit more loose as far as formatting goes, but still very insightful. Trying to control the chaos, which that means control me. But talking about controlling me, I have been trying to control my emotions about having this gentleman on since I started my channel. Roger, don't give a weird look. I can see you. You told me which microphone to get. I was running them. I said I might start a podcast. You're like, oh, that'd probably be a good idea. So you lied. And then I've been like, hey, dude, the first guest I ever invited on was you fellas, and I've been chasing you ever since. And I'm so happy to finally have got you. So tell everybody where you're from. Shad on TV, Shad on the movies, The Telegraph, Taboo. What was that other show that you guys did? American Gods. Yeah.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. Roger Roper, part of Shat the Movies and Shat on TV. You can find us at shatthemovies.com. We review 80s, 90s movies from our childhood and see if they still hold up. And then we do Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, and Watchmen. Yeah. Listen, getting into the podcast game, it just sucks the life out of you. Like, I will say this: the good thing is that the best thing that happened for content creators like everyone here has been the quarantine. Because without it, my mental stability, I would have gone the way that Dolores did in this episode.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously we're all in the brink of insanity, and we have, we all have issues, you know what I mean? Like, we were like, hey, guess what would be great if I videotape myself talking, you know what I mean? Like, it's an odd behavior, but I embrace it.
I want to inject myself into a computer at this moment, so yeah, I feel you.
Why do you want
to put on that thing Bernard did?
Yeah, no, and you'll get the chance, dude. That's all gonna happen during the stream and more. So, no, obviously check out Chat on TV. I'd say that it's neck and neck for the Daily DVR Network and Chat on TV. Besides, you guys, Axel, it's only Westworld podcast that I can listen to. Whatever that means. So, moving on, we're gonna go to a part of the DVR family. We're gonna go to Jenny, the lovely Jenny.
Hi, Justin. Hey, everyone. It's good to be here.
Is it, though?
It is.
Okay.
I had coffee this evening, so I'm like wide awake.
Don't drive.
I'm good to go. Yeah.
Don't drive anywhere.
Don't drive on coffee.
Yeah, no. No, Jenny is wonderful. She provides me with, I think I have the stockpile behind me.
Dude, I already have 2 pages of notes.
These are notes. Last week's. Sorry. Yeah, no.
I have 2 pages of notes, and I don't take notes during the first viewing, generally speaking, but I had to take some little notes so that I would remember stuff to be able to address in this evening's show. And also, like, when I was listening to the After the Dust Settles or Before the Dust Settles.
This is after.
Sorry,
this is
before the this is after. Yeah. Yes, before and after. Anyway, I was like, oh yeah, I was thinking of things that came to me, and I was taking more notes. So yeah, I'm already like a little more than 2 pages into it.
You're definitely a host. I can't speak to how much I've enjoyed working with you and the next person, Brett Factual, which is not his name, but Axel messed it up first, and I think it's more fitting. Brett, how you doing, brother? Is he there?
Brett, you're on mute.
Yeah, nobody mute themselves. Nobody mute themselves. All right.
Wow. So, rookie move already. That was fast.
No, it's not. It's with Justin Thomas. Don't mute yourself because you're gonna have to interrupt. So yeah, go ahead.
How's it going, Justin? And everybody. I work with Jenny on a weekly podcast, so I'm probably going to be a little lost tonight without having read her 2 pages of notes beforehand, but I'll do my best.
It's way more than 2. I just it's so it's never 2. So
it's just 2 right now.
Oh yeah,
it'll be like 8 or 10 by the time we record on Tuesday.
And that's why I print them 10 minutes before. Yeah. So, and I'm always stressed out and saying sorry. So, no, it's a pleasure to have you. Brett has some great theories, and I stick with what I said. I don't like simulation theory, but it's all about how you got there, not, like what the conclusion was. Your methodology is strong. It sticks within context of the story, and I praise you, brother, for actually backing up what you say. So, I don't have to agree with your conclusions, but I definitely respect the way in which you get to them.
Well, I don't have to agree with my conclusions either. I just, I like coming up with fun ideas.
Yeah, you don't base your value off it. Yeah. If you base your value off what Reddit thinks, I mean, we'd all be dead. Next up, we've got AK, Alicia Kingston. Now, she is somebody I've worked with off and on. Always a pleasure to have on. Kind of a wild card, actually. But very, very interesting, and it always has great insight on everything. Pretty much like the chameleon. You can adapt for anything.
Oh, thank you for that wonderful intro. Greetings and salutations, everyone. Lovely to see all the folks on the panel. There's maybe only 3 of you, I think, that I don't know. So shout out to the homies. House of the Conqueror and Mackenzie Burns. Costume Co. always hold it down. You know what? Well, fine. You sit over there in the corner and you think about what you just did, young man.
I love you, AK.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, Justin.
It's a sense of authority I feel I need. And the stream is better for. So yeah, no. And then after that, I didn't know about the homies, but I hope I'm included. Costume Co. A Canadian, one of the 7. How are you doing?
Yes, holding down the country.
It's a big country too. It's probably
North of the border. There was a story about these giant killer wasps called murder wasps, and I said, well, thank God we have the border so we can be protected from them.
What do you mean from wasps? Like
murder wasps that have come to the United States.
Oh, did they register?
No, they're from China.
Oh, yeah, we'll get a wall for that. We're
as 2020 couldn't get any better.
Murder
wasps.
They've stopped trying.
Well, they wipe out beehives, but apparently their sting is horribly painful and could even cause death. So I was like,
first it's killer bees. Now it's murder wasps.
Murder wasps, yeah.
We need to just throw the whole of 2020 away and start over. I'm done with this year already.
I think we'd make it worse. Knowing what we know, we would fail worse. I guarantee it. Everybody thinks that we'd fix things. We know things in the past have happened. We keep fucking up. So to stop thinking that we're going to make things better, we're terrible. We're going to keep being terrible. So anyways, murder wasps. They've stopped trying with names, evidently.
Right.
Yeah,
that's
murder.
The proper name. I think someone just came up with that. It's their colloquial name.
Yeah, colloquial.
Is it the giant hornet or something?
Yeah, it's like a giant hornet.
The giant Japanese hornet or something or other like that.
Yeah, it's like Asian murder.
Those things are no joke.
It's nasty.
Oh, I know what's the worst is the rape fly. The rape fly. Yeah. No,
yeah, that's the next one, right?
No, it's the one that already got to me.
The sexual assault fly.
No, it's a rape fly.
Okay, we're just going to move on from this part of the conversation.
Well, I'd like to.
I brought it there. Well, I'm the one
first experienced the rape fly in season 1.
I'm the one who refers to the satellite is the ejaculating satellite, and it did kind of look like it was ejaculating.
Oh God, your mind's already in that Canadian gutter.
Oh no!
This is the round table, everyone.
Can I automatically book you for a podcast? Because I already love it.
Absolutely.
Don't act like you wasn't thinking the same thing, Justin. Come on now.
I was being raped by the rape fly and I'd like to move on. AK. Thanks, but I can't. It's a little harder than that. Dismiss my fucking emotions. All right. Let's keep it moving forward, though, on a real note, because that is a valid point. And go ahead to Axel Foley. Axel Foley. What does the W stand for? Winston?
No, my name's William, dude. Billy.
It's Winfeld, right?
Billy.
Watson.
Willie.
Story.
Billy Foley.
School. A kid called me Axel because my last name's Foley. It's Beverly Hills Cop because I'm an old man. So when I got to college, everyone called me Axel.
Well,
I said, sure, I'll let him.
He's a cop in Detroit. He's like, "What's up? I'm from Detroit." They're like, "So bad?"
Yeah,
he's like, "Yeah."
Again, I look just like Eddie Murphy. You don't see
Beverly Hills Cop, one of the best freaking 80s movies ever made.
When I was out in LA, I saw him, and he looks like he weighs 90 pounds. He's looks very unhealthy. Eddie Murphy. So
Hollywood, dude, actors are
they
like
do.
tall and they weigh 24 pounds.
Yeah, a big guy is like half my size on screen. Yeah, so
Aaron Paul is like 5'2".
he's 5'8". I looked it up. Yeah. So no,
They always
Don't
add,
talk bad about my doppelganger.
you're 5'8" too, aren't you?
I'm 7 foot tall.
Yeah,
after
yeah.
a
All right,
couple of alcohol.
7
my-
whole feet.
Well, let's stop talking about monsters until that we get to the show. Okay, so
Right.
Mackenzie L. Burns, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a while.
Hi, Justin, and hi, the lovely people on the panel with me. There's a lot's going on in the chat. Everybody's talking about what we were just talking about, which is the
Rape.
the murder hornets, and then the satellite of which we got last episode.
It's a lusty satellite. It's like, oh,
It was dribbling.
yeah,
It was a dribble.
it
It
was.
was having a good time, I guess.
Wah, wah, wah. Yeah.
A lot, yeah.
Is this why Tesla's stock market is going so high? Is this part of SpaceX? Is ejaculating satellite? Is that what's going on?
Well,
I guess so.
the rules to success are
See
date
their money now?
Yeah, date Tallulah Riley, smoke weed on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Got it.
Release, yeah. But okay, let's talk about the show. I know you did a Twitch stream, and you directly competed with me, which I take offense to, sir. No, I'm joking. Competition is the cornerstone of good content. But still, screw you on that one. How'd you feel about the episode, brother?
Who are you talking to?
Roger.
Oh, you're talking to me?
Yeah, all the insults were for you
Oh,
too. Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I didn't know. I thought we were still on murder hornets.
We're never off them, and because
got it. We do an Insta Twitch, or I do an Insta Twitch every Sunday immediately afterwards, and I thought that the episode was good. It wasn't great. I think that it's going to be very divisive. I think that people who enjoyed Dolores's journey and saw, her making a sacrifice and kind of called it with the poster art in this season, I think are going to be somewhat satisfied. If you're asking me personally, my own personal feelings, I try not to shit on shows that we do stuff for to piss off fans, but I will say that this of all the seasons, if I compare it against season 1, season 2, this was my least favorite finale. And it's interesting because it was a linear narrative. And so you'd think it would have been easier for them to stick the landing or stick the finale, and it just wasn't. I felt like the whole season, major characters that were underserved are just acting powerhouses. Jeffrey Wright, Bernard's character, was completely underserved. Ed Harris's Man in Black, I felt was completely underserved. Maeve's character, Tandy Newton, was completely underserved. It seemed to me there were too many villains, and they didn't know how to wrap each of them up. It seemed like that 10-minute stinger at the end, that should have been the fucking show. Like, we didn't need another Maeve fighting Dolores scene. But again, that's my overall feeling. I don't think it was as strong as the other seasons, which is disappointing because I was enjoying season 3 up until then. I was really looking towards the finale.
I think that
The Rock was completely incompetent as well.
Raj.
Yeah, I think it's part of the formula though for Westworld, right, Roger? That you're always going to have these powerhouses because they cloak a fairly simple story, especially this season. So they hide things from you to deceive you, and hopefully it pays off and it's not deception for deception's sake. I'm gonna go the other route with it because season 2, I felt like they revealed a whole bunch of things and tried to make it something it wasn't. They're like, look at how deep this is. I'm like, no, you did like Ocean's 11 poorly, like this whole season. Like, you deceived us. I thought it was actually more just, but it's always because it's always this knowing, this foresight that they somebody is going to do something very important, and then the wool is pulled off your eyes at the very end. So I think it's inherently part of the structure. But I mean, I think it's a valid criticism, and since we love things, if you actually love them, you're going to have opinions on them that aren't always all flowers and sunshines and rate flies. So no, and when you say something good, it means even more. So yeah, we're big on honesty here.
It's like we couldn't do Ocean's 11 good, so let's go get the villain from Ocean's 12 and we'll put him in next season.
Oh, I didn't even make that connection. Thank you. Yeah, see? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Serac, there you go.
Yeah, and dancing too. Yeah, he should have done dancing. So yeah, if anything, he should have did a dance off with Maeve. But I did feel the 11th karate fight might have been One too many. Yeah. But
I like this new earring that he's had the whole time. We never noticed. It was cool.
I don't know if it's appropriate for you to have an earring past 40 or at any point, to be honest. But
Come
yeah,
on, this guy's hip with the times, okay? He's the cool dad or cool granddad.
Harrison Ford flying his old airplanes with earrings, and yeah, I don't know. I don't get into it. Jenny, how'd you feel about it?
Surviving nuclear. Well, I feel like I survived.
I think he said Jenny, not Johnny.
Oh, sorry. Did he?
Yes, I did. But I love conflict.
See, I'm an asshole.
Just gonna put you in your place for a second there, Johnny. Just kidding.
Oh shit.
I feel so small now. Okay.
We've got a story.
Anyway, no, I liked it quite a bit. I think that maybe I agree with Roger that Bernard and Maeve were underserved this season, but I feel like while William's story wasn't necessarily what William's story normally is that we get from him, he did get a lot of exposition showing, all the stuff with him killing all his other selves and everything. But one of the things in this episode that stood out to me, and I wanted to respond to Axel in the Before the Dust Settles episode, when Dolores and Maeve were having one of their fights, I realized, and this was like you had said, Justin, the main theme to this whole season seems to be everybody gets to make their own choice, kind of like Dolores was all about. And the reason that she wouldn't let Maeve force her way into her mind was because she didn't want her to see what was in Dolores's mind to make her decision. She wanted her to make the decision on her own. She wanted everyone to be able to make their own decision as to how their path went. And that's, kind of how she was doing for humankind or whatever. Because Caleb had that ability to choose, and she wanted Maeve to have the ability to choose and not be influenced by outside stuff. So I don't know. I really liked the episode. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, Roger. No,
no, I wasn't downing.
No,
him.
I'm joking. Yeah, no. I'm trying to get conflict. I a little bit about story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, we need that conflict.
Jenny chooses to see the beauty in the world, and I choose to see the disarray.
I agree at all parts, because it again, it comes down to you. That's why God stays out of everything. He's like, hey, guys got to be free. You know what I mean? That's the idea, is what I'm saying. So yeah, right. It's being this virtuous, it's a virtuous endeavor, but it doesn't come off like that. It's like, hey, Dick, why don't you step in? He's like, got to do your own things. I'm like, yeah, but we think pretty proven we're not capable of that. But anyway,
there you go with your pedophiles, Justin.
What? Well, yeah, okay. If you want to bring up that I don't like pedophiles, yeah, not afraid to say it. I know.
No, we've had this discussion in the past few freaking episodes.
Yeah, Ray Bones stops things from happening supposedly, but
he doesn't stop that. And you were saying, God just stands back and lets people do their own thing. I guess that's like Rehoboam's own way of letting people do their own thing, because why else would the pedophiles still be allowed to be there?
Yeah, well, also, I'm
saying.
Sure, I'm also, those kids probably make for pretty good, outliers for him in the future. It's a single fan approach. So, Brett, let's change this very quickly. But all pedophiles should die. That is a thing. If prison doesn't okay you, you're fucked. All right. Yeah, it's not okay. So yeah, it's the rule of man. Brett, how'd you feel about it?
My thoughts are more aligned with what Roger was saying. I thought it was really cool as far as television goes. As far as Westworld, it wasn't quite as mind-blowing as I was, I guess, hoping it would be. Of course, it's easy for this show to build up my expectations. But my favorite part of the show was like the last 20 or 30 minutes. I thought was awesome. I wish they had kind of expanded that a little more. But overall, it was pretty good. Not as, I'm a huge fan of season 2 and season 1, obviously. I know we disagree on that, Justin, but it wasn't quite at that level for me.
I know I'm just surprised on how many people do like season. That's great. Would you argue that if you got more of the stinger in the end scene, that it wouldn't be as intriguing to you? Because it seems like that's the general narrative right now. Is they say they want more of that. I think that's why it's so intriguing. Is because you didn't get more.
Yeah, I think they did. They did seem to be a little more linear than what they usually like. Usually, something happens in the finale that kind of turns the entire season on its head for your rewatch. And so, at some point, I'll rewatch this season. So I'll reserve judgment until that point. But right now, I'm not seeing what totally flipped my perspective.
Got you. Yeah. I think that it was again kind of like the penultimate episode, and it was just kind of confirming what we had thought, and I think that they'll find maybe the happy medium in between. Axel Foley, and then AK, and then my my core crew.
Just as I was saying on the other show.
Don't assume people have seen that stream. This is new.
But it was very similar to what Roger said. I felt the same. I felt the same way. I enjoyed the journey. I like this show, but I felt that this episode and last episode for me kind of fell flat in some ways in the execution of what is, for all intents and purposes, like a heist season. Mm-hmm. This was supposed to be like a caper. Like this was to be like the Kaiser Soze moment when Dolores is plugged into the machine and you realize, oh shit, they plugged her into the machine. They should have never done that, and then she's got control. And then, oh, look, she knew Caleb. This was her plan the whole entire time. She was manipulating the Rico app. She was, but I just felt that the dominoes they kind of fell like one fell and then another one fell. Like it wasn't.
The causality was there. I think it was there.
Oh no, I'm not saying it was bad.
Just not
I'm
dynamic.
Just saying that I felt it was a little, it was not as exactly. That's a very good word for it. It was not as dynamic nor as compelling. I too am a fan of season 2. That's my favorite season. I love season 1, but season 2 was my favorite season because I liked that whole puzzle. I liked the propulsive nature of it. And some of this felt a little bit jumpy. And again, we already had the boss fight last episode. I don't know why we needed 2 of them this episode.
Well, rematch, you got to be fair. The 11th one got a little crazy, but yeah. No, I agree. I think, the point is they could have definitely cut out some of those fight scenes. They already injected enough action to make it more high concept, more, whatever you want to call it. So they could have used that time to maybe elaborate on some things that they left out. But again, there's reasons, unfortunately, for probably why they didn't. I do want to play the game of how many times Roger says something. It seems like a trend. Roger, you might be a good dictator because everybody has sided with what you've said so far. So, yeah.
I'm the Caleb of the podcast.
Yeah, I like it.
There he is. He's rise
and
up.
I'm the Teddy.
But I don't want to be mistaken. I'm all in on this show. I love this show. And I think that each season they've been trying something different. And sometimes seasons are more successful than other ones. Like, some people complain about the kind of union scene of the season of The Wire, like there's different things that kind of worked. But all in all, this is still a great show. And though I thought there were too many fights, they still were badass fights and they look cool and you could get into it. So I'm not, I don't want to say that I think they've taken a bad turn or something. No, I think that they went in a direction and it was hard to pull off too. I mean, they did pull off like a worldwide revolution and the decay of society all over the world. And I think they did that pretty successfly.
Napoleon would have been proud. Go ahead.
Justin, can I ask, I want to get the panel's idea on this because Axel Foley brings up a nice point. He says over the period of time, we're supposed to see the decay like that. The whole purpose is to break down the loops that we as humans are in. And that's Dolores. Was that her motivation? That was the whole point of the season, right?
Well, it was posed to us that she was going to destroy humanity. So it overtly was stated that she was going to be the Terminator, right? But Westworld really isn't a Terminator series. It's a series that investigates what makes us do the things we do, what makes us who we are. So it's a different philosophical approach. So I think it was a little bit different because she showed that she was, yes, objectifying humans to a point and definitely coercing them. But what she was really trying to do, yes, is give them choices, but giving them choices by not letting them have choices up into it is that paradox, right? Of getting them to commit the same thing that Wyatt, Johnny has a great video on this. All of these stories have been coercion all the way up into the point of original sin. It's like, how much do you have to slam that gun in their hand and say this? So it's like, how much, deterministic behavior needs to happen in order to get rid of determinism, I guess, but no, yeah. If that answers it, and if anybody else wants to.
Okay.
Sorry,
go ahead.
I think the only problem I had is with them showing the decay or the destruction of is like, it seems like all of a sudden, like in the last episode, there's utter chaos, and we didn't see that utter chaos in previous episodes. And then at the end, even at the stinger, it seems as if everything's going fine in Dubai, but they showed other scenes where this is happening all over the world.
Oh, so you mean
again, if you're going to establish this world, give us rules and then follow those rules. And it felt very disjointed at times because, correct me if I'm wrong, but 2 or 3 episodes, didn't he like control it? Like when he blew up Charloris, didn't the watch go back to normal?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden at this season or at the end of it in this finale, it's back to chaos again.
It's that whole neo-creationalism approach that they take, and I'm sorry, what you're saying, yeah, the bombing at the end and all this, like in the social, that's a little bit like, because like what I said is they were taking steps, like, on more of a philosophical and a cultural sense, and then they're like, okay, everybody make their own decisions, and then fucking drop bombs on them. So yeah, that's problematic, actually. Yes, very good point. Heidi, and then we'll go to AK.
Well, I loved it. I thought it was great. And one of the things I really appreciated this season is I love the look of the, because I'm going to say this because I do the costume aspect of it, but I love the look of the entire season and like the architecture, for instance, and just like the cool robots. And the only thing it didn't really work for me was Maeve. I think a couple of you have talked about her. I found that her motivations in this episode were a little bit at odds. Like I think halfway into the episode, it was like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why is she doing this? And then finally, after she goes into the alternative realm, whatever you call it, she has that conversation with Dolores and then suddenly changes. But it just seemed, I had always thought that she probably would have had something up her sleeve ready to go, maybe an alternative plan. So I found that didn't really work for me, but not my favorite episode. I still thought it was a pretty good episode. Maybe not the best finale though, as others have mentioned.
Yeah. Again, I think you're speaking to what Axel's is speaking to. Where was that big twist, and the big twist that we did get was what Roger just brought up, which is kind of not in line. Maybe they put too much faith in how we characterize Maeve, because I'm like, there's no way that Madame is gonna I always just never even thought it was possible that she was all in with Serac.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to comment on is Bernard. I guess there's no housekeeping anymore at that motel. Maybe all the people at the motel have buggered off or something, because God, how long has he been sitting in that motel room?
5 years.
Is it? Oh, how did you know?
Because early, before the season started, the tagline was "Welcome to 2058." We were still currently in 2053, I'm assuming. So that's why it's been 5 years of dust.
Presumably. Oh wow. Okay.
So we're going to jump 5 years into the future. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
One of those statues after the nuclear tests in Nevada.
Yeah, and they also had that "Do Not Disturb" sign on the doors, so they do respect that. And he had a credit card running. But yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was an early thing on Twitter, the promos before the season started. Welcome to
okay. All right.
I was quite hyperbolic in my my narrative on how it would switch within the first episode. I was wrong. But yeah, no, there's that 5-year gap for sure. So because it starts in 2052 at the end of last season, there's a timestamp on one of the things. So yeah, and how does Mackenzie know? Because she's an eagle eye. That's how.
Poor Stubbs. Then he's still in that bathtub. He's only got a couple of mini bar bottles, to get him through. So
he's gonna be all wrinkly, right?
and then also the whole thing with
fail.
him being a spy, that all fell flat, right?
Well, they forgot to say
Maybe.
anything about it. They're like, did we bring up anything about possibly a mole? They're like, do we have a script supervisor? They're like, yeah. They're like, fuck it. Well, it'll be all right. They kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet.
He'll wake up and remember he's the mole, and then he'll try to do something.
Yeah, that's the best type of mole to have, you know? Well, not really, actually. No, that's the worst type. Yeah, they'd forget to do it. So, sorry. AK, how'd you feel?
I thought it was a decent episode. To pull everything in for like the whole of the season, though, I think Maeve and Bernard were very much backshelved and curved, basically. Yeah. I don't think they showed them enough in their part of the story that had to come through. The way everything ended. With all the explosions and whatnots, it was very reminiscent of the ending of Fight Club for me. It's like the New World Order destroying the old, and then we're gonna bring in the new under whatever terms may come about. And it was decent. I'm not sure. I liked the end credit scenes, but I'm not sure that I'm down with them doing more Easter eggs than Marvel movies at the moment. I don't know. It was all right to see, but those are things that should have just been in the episode. Yeah. I don't think those should have been Easter eggs at all.
Yeah, it's like a gateway structure, right? They start doing that. Next thing you know, you've got way too many multiverses, and the whole thing's fucked. The
timelines also, I think, again, were a bit weird for me because we've been watching this story basically from when flashbacks of when Ford first made Bernard, and for the backstory that he was given, and then to fast forward to where we are now, where he was talking to Arnold's wife, who is very much a senior citizen now. I'm questioning again. I thought I had it figured out, but I'm questioning again how many years were going on that we've actually seen in this story. And then to the end as well, Kinsey said it's been like 5 years of dust on Bernard. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do next season, because how much time really is sitting in that motel, no housekeeping went in at all. I don't care if you have a do not disturb sign on the handle. How does that work? Like these two guys were just able to sit and gather dust in this hotel.
Well, they're hosts, number one, and I think it actually does work, AK, because there's a nuclear event, at least a mass bombing, so the time of rebuilding will happen off screen. So it works in the narrative. I think it's happened because it's like, well, how are we going to address how we just bombed everything? They're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
They're like, time gap.
It was also a bit of a callback to, I think it was last season, in that scene we saw with William sitting in, that building where there's basically desert dust all around him. And I'm assuming was a host of his daughter now coming in to try to talk to him about fidelity. But even thinking about that, I'm wondering, what William's a host now?
Yeah,
we don't have the real William anymore. So how's that going to tie in? It's going to be very interesting to see. Overall, I enjoyed the season and I did like this episode, but I think there are a few key things that could have, worked a little bit better if they would have tweaked it more, especially where Bernard and Maeve are concerned.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Maeve a little bit because there's been some controversy about that. But anyways, we are dealing with a situation in which it's good to want answers at the end as well, even though it's a little bit frustrating. So, I do agree. Westworld's always going to be a situation where they could have stuck the landing a little better, but with the way in which they format their narrative, it's always going to leave out this or that, because a lot of things kind of get like, you sacrifice for your story. You inject one kind of nonsensical act in order to deceive, in order to keep it going in the way you need to keep going, and those can stockpile, and that's what I think happened in season 2. But I believe we're going to Johnny and then Kenzie.
Yes, I will make mine short and sweet. And since you made the Fight Club reference, AK, I'm going to go look for a subliminal wiener at the end of the episode. So we'll see if that plays out. That'll be my Easter egg for the episode. I agree with all of y'all on the parts that was slow. It felt like the riot really didn't have any stakes. It really felt like a staged riot. Like I couldn't separate myself from it being a film TV show at that point
like a
in time.
flash. What do they call those? Flash mobs?
Yeah, that's basically what it felt like. They pushed over these giant barriers really easily. They should have at least filled them with water or something. But these are small gripes. In the end, I kind of agree that Bernard and Maeve are underutilized, but also we got to look at what they are as characters. They are supplemental. They are secondary. They back up the story more than drive it. I think that may change in the future, especially with Dolores's death, whether or not you think she's actually coming back. We do have Lawrence, whatever. I don't know how to call that guy, but Lawrence says Dolores. I think that was a misuse of the fifth pearl. There wasn't really a big reveal there. Everybody's waiting for the fifth pearl, and hey, it's just this guy delivering a package. Bernard's revelations, Bernard realizing that the memories he didn't really like, he was haunted by these memories, are really more of a blessing than he thought they were. And him seeing, his former human self's wife, that was pretty touching and good, but there was a lot of.
Is it ethical if he would have been intimate with her? Would that have been ethical?
I would have liked to see it, of course. I'm a depraved individual.
Of course. We all want to see it. That's not the question. No. Yeah.
But, like Virtual Eden, it didn't. Like Maeve's storyline was, her motivations were clear, and I could get behind why she's driven to be reunited with her daughter. But it was very inconsistent, I agree.
Yeah.
I like how they got there. I like a lot of the parts of the episode, but there's some things I can complain about. But overall, Westworld is good, and I do like this season better than season 2. At least the last 2 episodes of season 2.
Mackenzie, and then I really want to jump into this Maeve issue because not since Dany and Sansa have I seen such outrage, and I just am a little perplexed about it. Yeah.
But for me, overall, I liked this episode. I liked this season. I liked how we finally have the answer to all of the parks and what they are presumably used for.
All bad.
All bad. And I liked how in the end they gave us the, not Easter egg, but the subtle nod to the fact that Caleb also knew Dolores when she was in the park, because Dolores was also used as a woman that they have to save, like the military has to save in the town.
The damsel in distress. Mm-hmm. If she doesn't pick up the milk can, like I love it. Yeah, no.
Yeah, they used her as well in Park 5. Park 5 was like, I guess, military training park, and it also now makes sense why every time when you look up what Park 5 was, it was a thing. It was always blacked out, perfect for the military. I do understand Maeve's, like, why people are very confused about Maeve. Maeve this season she did kind of fall flat until like this episode. Again, why does she keep bringing a samurai sword to a fight where there's guns and stuff like that? I don't know. She just loves that weapon. It's her favorite weapon of choice.
My sword is in my hand now. You can't see it if you're not watching.
And we don't need to know about your sword in your hand, young man.
And yeah, I think overall it was good. It's just some people in the chat were wondering this question. It's like, what is now Maeve's purpose? Is she now to be Caleb's protector? What is Caleb's big story in this? That's like the big thing, is like, what is Maeve now doing with Caleb? Like, are they going to be like the next buddy cop duo that we see now until all the stories collide again? And there's a super chat from Amberlyn if you want me to read it out, Justin.
Yes, please do.
It's from Amberlyn, and it says, "Love you guys, and I know you I know I love and I know that I love what you do. But thank you for all your hard work and for giving us another way to enjoy stories we love." It's from Amberlyn.
Amberlyn, you are the best. I don't deserve you as a friend at all, but I'll take I'll take the breaks when I get them, and you're one hell of one. And that's what we try to do. So thank you so much.
We got us a super chat, Justin.
What's that?
I did it out.
We got us a super chat. Oh, you did?
Yeah. Did you?
Am I just? I must have dropped for a second.
You
Thank you,
have.
Redneck Internet. Teddy strikes again. All right.
Yeah, it's a poor handyman that blames his toolbox, my friend.
The one thing that I did want to also bring up is when they were erasing the memories, they did erase the Teddy ones like kind of first, and I was like, is this going to be that if Dolores ever comes back, that this is the bye-bye to James Marsden, like we kind of have the bye-bye to original Hector kind of thing, and like that. I was like, that was the one thing I was like, oh no.
But that it's the most impactful, so you know, like you don't want to erase like just like her like on the days that she went painting, even though doesn't mean anything. But you know what I mean? It's to get the most emotional impact out of it. But I agree, and I don't think James Marsden will be back in the foreseeable future.
Do we really need to see Cyclops again? No.
Yeah, maybe not.
Well, is this the end of Dolores? I mean, obviously you have Lawrence, Dolores, Dolores,
No,
Dolores. That's it, Dolores. I love Dolores.
Jenny.
I'm gonna go with Dolores. You have Charloris. And then do we know what happened with the rest of the pearls? That was in Musashi, and then that was in
the Connell's one is still there. It's like Hale has it somewhere.
Yeah.
Hale still
has it, and the one that's in Musashi, Clementine and Hanario have. Were they taking it back to Charlotte or to Serac, or we don't know what was going on with that one for sure.
That's classic.
Again, I posted. There's so many left unanswered questions. Like, what was it? The episode called Crisis Response?
Crisis Theory.
Yeah. The Crisis Theory is this episode. I think the hot take that I'm going to have is the penultimate episode should have been the finale of season 3. Ending on the EMP blast and then just fading to black, and then we'll see you in 2022.
Yeah. That's that cliffhanger works. It ends on the after the action, so I'll give you that. I don't like that completely. I think we did need more. Because Serac, we would have needed more from Serac. There was a little from Serac last episode. I'm not saying that we got a whole shitload from. Yeah, he was fucking. I mean, whatever. I mean, I'm so biased against it because it's like, oh, I don't understand this story, so I guess I'll make up one I do. You know what I mean? Like it's just Serac's real. Yeah, we got that, but it's like if he wasn't real, how much of that would even have mattered? Honestly,
at this point, it wouldn't. But can I throw at y'all as well?
Not too hard.
The fact that Dolores says everybody's copies of her.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
She's basically Agent Smith in the Matrix.
Yeah. Well, she's like, I'm the original. You know what I mean? Like I'm everybody comes from me. Like I'm the whatever. I mean, I guess it was Adam and Eve in Catholicism, but whatever. I thought there's power to that.
I thought that that really kind of made it seem more. I don't know. She didn't see the harm in creating those other host copies from a copy of herself because all of the hosts at one time had been copies of her. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And it made it make more sense to me the way that she behaved when the Charlotte bot needed her right away when she had first gone into being Charlotte and she was all needy and clingy and stuff. And she's like, I'll give you this one. But then she's just like, you're done. I ain't got time for this because she had dealt with that probably before. I don't know.
Well, yeah, well,
I thought it was interesting though.
On a technological sense, it's like, it's the first incarnation of this technology, so they are like literally. I mean, I guess you could have this with DNA too. We're all somewhat related. That's fun. But
Speak for yourself, Justin.
No,
I'm
I will. Okay, Alabama, I will. Yeah, some of us. Yeah. But no, I could only hope for that Southern twang. But yeah, it speaks to it because they are models all that have to be somewhat, replicated off the model they used for her. So it's even more, I guess, just, again, they are always drawing the parallels between, they're not that much different than us. Oh, they were pre-programmed to do this. It's like, ever heard of social conditioning? Ever heard of that? You know what I mean? Oh, they can not feel pain. Ever heard of amnesia? Anesthetic? You know what I mean? Not amnesia, anesthetic. It's just like they always do that. And it's very, I think it's smart. I think it's a good way to tell, a story that they're not overtly stating. I heard somebody say, why don't they just say these things? I'm like, because that's not how story works. You know what I mean? Like, effective story tells you it in a, very, it's like a spectacle. It's entertaining. It draws you in. And then there's that deeper meaning, deeper conversation you have out of it. Else you just would read freaking, biographies and, watch documentaries, which I also do, but I'm lame. But Maeve, Roger, let's see if you can get the trend going again. I want to see if I can say something crazy to get you to say and see if everybody agrees with it. You might just be the next.
Like I was chatting in the chat. I was like, have you ever seen Transformers, the animated series or the animated movie in 1986?
Yes.
The best Transformers version of any movie. Anyway,
agreed.
It's the one where Optimus dies like in the first 20 minutes, and he's on his deathbed after this battle with Megatron, and he's handing the Matrix of Leadership over to Ultra Magnus, and Ultra Magnus is like, I can't take this, right? I'm just a warrior, and then it turns into Rodimus Prime. So I feel like Dolores is handing her Matrix of Leadership over to Maeve, right? And Maeve is going to be the one that carries on the legacy, and she's going to fight the evil version of Dolores, which is maybe what Megatron turned into, right, in the movie, which was I forget. We're going to watch it for Chat the Movies. Anyways, that's what I feel is going to happen. You're going to have Maeve, and you're going to have Bernard, and you're going to maybe have Stubbs coming back, and they're going to be battling Hale Loris with her army of Clementine and all these other Henario. And all these other balls that she has of previous Dolori. And I think that there's going to be some Dolori that are going to fight back. Maybe Musashi's going to fight back. You're also maybe going to have Lawrence. What do we call it? What do we decide? DeLawrence. DeLawrence might team up with Maeve and Caleb and all that. So I think that's what's going to happen in season 4. Regardless, I need them to pare down the villains. My simple brain can't handle all these different Solomons and Seracs and Charlorises. I just give me 2 or 3, and then let's call it a day.
Get the white hats back, right? But
Solomon is Rehoboam now, so.
But also too, like to what you speak of, I that was my prediction with the new gods, whatever I call it, the Lori, the Rise. That Maeve is clearly the one that is going to be more, because her hands will be so bloody, Dolores, by that revolution. She will no longer be able to be the figurehead. You know what I mean? Like, she's doing the sacrifice. It seems like she's being the totalitarian, authoritarian, dictator, which to a point she is, but it's like, then if you hand off the power, after, it can work. And I think Maeve is always been the mother in many different ways. I've gotten into this before. So yeah, I think that is overall, I don't think it'll happen as quickly, but it's going that route. They're in league now. So Dolores is coming back because Evan Rachel Wood needs to be there. You know what I mean? Like, and Dolores is there, different incarnations. But yeah, we need Evan Rachel Wood. There's no way this series goes on without her. But yeah, that's going to be the general, plot of this story is going to be them blowing up the world and saying, we can fix it. So now it's like, okay, fucking start building. And see, it's, the whole anarchist trying to take down the government, starting a government type of deal. Like, it never really works out. Like, everybody's got these revolutionary ideas and they'll do everything right. It's always, it rarely ends that well.
Did you guys cover what you thought Bernard went and saw in the Sublime? Like, why he was there for 5 years?
Yeah, Bernard went and got the upgraded Brandon download from the Weirwood Net. 5 years it took to download all that stuff into his brain. I can't even fathom exactly what might have gone in there, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do with the information he has now.
Pornhub. A lot of Pornhub. But no, I think that what happened is we won't know until we see what he decides to do after. Meaning, what his actions are after witnesses will give us a clear depiction. Because I guarantee you won't get any insight into that until the last episode. Usually, that's something they'll hold back from you. And that's smart, but you'll have to try to make sense of what he's doing, his methodology, opposed to what he's witnessed, right? Like if I just came back from the afterlife and I started doing things drastically different, you'd be like, what the fuck did that dick see? What is he up to?
From the small scene we got too, it looked like he was entering the Sublime. So maybe he just hung out with Teddy for 5 years.
He's so bored.
But it seems like he was he saw something, right? I kind of agree with AK on the brand download. I don't know if he downloaded it or he just visited there. But yeah, Justin, we'll figure it out.
And we don't know what their timeline would be like in the Sublime versus on Earth.
Let's just use Inception rules since it's a Nolan v. Nolan.
Very true.
So it could have been a flash of it could have been a blink of an eye, or it could have been an eternity.
Yeah.
All that matters is that he's experiencing something that nobody else has seen. He knows something people don't. Let's see what he does off of that as far as the story goes, and that'll be an indication for what.
Isn't that why he's irreplaceable? We've been told all season long. Bernard, you're the one that can't die. And then we see Musashi give this package and make sure it gets delivered to Bernard. So whatever Bernard is doing is like a critical piece of Dolores' plan.
So yeah, that's a good point, Brett. So he was given that by Musashi. So it's not just that he was going there, because technically anybody can. Well, not technically, but in this world, technically anybody host could go there. But it's so did he bring something there? What did he do? Maybe it's not what he saw; it's what he did.
Well, he said he was getting an answer to what happens after the revolution, I guess. But I don't know what that could be.
Yeah, how would they know that there? They're we are literally as detached as we could possibly be.
Unless Dolores put some information in there for him to find or something.
God, yeah, that's I don't know. Anybody got anything on that?
That's a possibility, but it's really hard to speculate what all information he could have seen from the Sublime, and how exactly is information from the Sublime going to help in the real world.
Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah, there's a disconnect there. It's maybe he was just forging some sort of he's the conduit, for them, because evidently Dolores didn't trust herself, so he's reestablishing that paradise for them as a viable option. Because if you want to have free will and not live in a deterministic way, you also you got to be in as much control as possible. But yeah, that's an interesting line of dialogue. We'll have to watch it back. I don't see how they would know. They'd be like, we've been gone for years. I don't know what the hell.
Exactly.
They'd probably be like, what's happening? Everybody ran up to them. They're so bored because it's all just a bunch of hills and shit. They're like, I don't know. That's my take on it. What I did really like about this episode was that we did get to see. I really thought, and I am a sucker for montages, but the Dolores's memories and them being wiped, it got me a little emotional. It did. It made me a little bit of a little girl, a little bitch. I'm sorry, not I didn't make that any better.
No, my girlfriend, that she had tears in her eyes, and it was very emotional. I thought there were two really powerful emotional scenes in this episode. The one, of course, Bernard going back and to Arnold's wife.
Yeah.
My only disappointment is that, again, the nurse that's there, the hospice nurse. She's like, oh, I recognize you. I thought Arnold's pictures and identity was supposed to be wiped off, like the Earth.
When they needed that for the story, they were, yes, but not in this case.
This guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course the scenes with Dolores. Those are the two really powerful moments that stuck out in my mind. A lot of the rest of it was schlock. But yeah, I agree. And there's no shame in shedding some tears for our girl Evan Rachel Wood.
No, but I loved it because it shows the how drastically, unfortunately, different we can be throughout life. That's been hammered down. It showed William in this, all of these. optimistic, very like, just well-intended, virtuous people that have turned into nihilists and grown this hubris that is the detriment of them throughout this series forward. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't say virtuous, but I'd at least say, not a nihilist at first. Until he got deep into the park after Arnold's death, and then like it seems to be the fall of them, but also the rise of their ideals. So it's like, I don't know. I just find like that.
Think about like
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I like that we look at like these things like tropes, but we watch. The thing that I love about story is that we view and we consume story and we live our lives through it. We literally do, and we at least frame our lives in a 3-act play. You know what I mean? In retrospect. And I think it's really powerful that like that William is like this such a virtuous story, like for the most part, like it's very touching. And it's like, does that take away because of what he's become? Is that no longer meaningful? Is that no longer like, can you just throw that in the garbage because now he's a piece of crap or whatever? But it's like, I don't know, it brought up a lot of feelings for me and like the beauty of life and how we look in retrospect. Yes, we glamorize and Americana never happened. The Old West was syphilis and slow death, but you know what I mean? Like I love that idea of living through tropes because we do. It's not just in film, like film culture reflects it, and it reflects our culture. And I think it's a really powerful narrative.
According to Seth MacFarlane, you can die from farting in the Old West. So
I didn't mean him.
A hard place.
Yeah, no, he's talented. No, but no, you're right. No comedy though, it's good.
Hey, Justin, guys, real quick, I got to jump out because I do have work in the morning. Unfortunately, I am still an essential worker, so I gotta hit the bed.
How dare you be responsible, AK?
Haha, for being competent.
How dare I? I know, how dare I? But thank you for having me on. It's always good seeing you guys. Brett, Roger, lovely to meet y'all. Jenny, you as well. Hopefully I'll catch y'all again on another stream.
No, absolutely.
Bye, Alicia.
Yeah.
All right, nice, y'all.
That's what she gets for she's being competent.
Bye.
And that's a clear. I always work from home, so this is just COVID has happened to other people, not me. I'm always stuck at this desk. So, but no, AK, thank you for joining us. But yeah, I just thought that because again, the bicameral mind, all of that is about. It's really just based off that, telling stories to ourselves about ourselves, and the show is really heavily, focused. It's story centric, the power of story. So I just thought that was really impactful, and it reminded me of season 1. So I'm a sucker for it. I don't know why.
One of the things I was going to say, Justin, that I liked about the episode, no one's mentioned, is Caleb actually fighting the hand-to-hand combat that he did there. I thought that was cool because it was weird that up until this point, he actually hasn't really been fighting. It's usually Dolores has been the one that's been doing it. So he's, finally gets to have his boss battle.
And they claim,
he decided he didn't want to be the damsel anymore.
I found the story there. I wasn't the victim. No, but that's funny though, Heidi, because they said that he's a violent person, and we've seen nothing of that, right? Like,
yeah, that Serac said that though, right?
Yeah, he's an idiot. Sorry, I forgot.
And I mean, he was what I would call an unreliable narrator. Yeah.
That's supposed.
And then I found his death a little bit lame as well.
Bleeding on the floor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or if he is even dead, maybe he's not.
Well, I learned a long time ago not to have machine gun fights in the dark. It's a rookie mistake.
Simulations bleed though, but he's probably still a simulation.
Yeah, he could be.
Brett, what do you think about Serac? Let's use some solid logic. Let's factual it up. What is up with him? What's going on with him? Is he dead?
It's weird that they didn't show him actually die, but yeah, I assume he's dead. I mean, he was on the the world that he built is definitely dead. So I'm not sure what UC has anymore. He pretty much was humiliated there.
There's not a lot of reason to keep him around, really.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of reason for him in general.
We didn't see Stannis die, but I'll know what happened there.
Stannis.
Yeah, we dealt with it like Stannis dealt with everything, just like stern, with no emotion. Do your duty. You know what I mean? Like it was like he was ordering a fucking hamburger. I'll take the cheeseburger, medium well. It's fucking Stannis.
I held out hope for 3 years.
I love
Stannis would order it well done, by the way.
He would. No, you're damn right. He'd be like, I don't want to taste anything. And I will die on that hill. Stannis should be king. I will die on that hill every single time. The burning of the kid thing. It's different opinions, but no, I found it
Also,
to touch on it.
he was just a pawn of Rehoboam the whole time with that little earring thing that he had. So once Rehoboam was dead, I'm sure he is.
Well, it's kind of like when you rely so much on technology for
Hobbles.
everything, and when you hobble yourself on
Take a
technology,
drink.
Take a drink, everyone.
I will.
that once the thing is broken, then what do you do? That's the thing. Like once you can't get a new version of something that's broken, what do you do? So that's like his big thing, and then that's, I guess, why Caleb was so relieved, was because, okay, this thing, it doesn't exist anymore, and everybody's free to be who they want to be, which was another big thing this episode. And I'm surprised they just kind of just left Dolores's body just like there. I know they were gonna like bring her around and whatever, but it's just the fact that there wasn't like if this is the end of Evan Rachel Woods, like they didn't do like a proper send off kind of thing.
Drogon didn't pick her up and take her anywhere. No, because it's
To be
not.
fair, she probably wouldn't smell too bad after a while. She doesn't decompose that much. So.
Also, they just kind of brushed over her, like putting on her skin and everything. It's like, who are you? Like the whole building of Dolores.
Not what are you? Who are you?
Yeah.
I found
and
that
then like
impactful.
the face, putting like the pearl through her face and stuff like that, and how they did that was pretty cool. But yeah, they did. It's just kind of like, oh, this is who you are now.
If you can't love her at her worst, you don't deserve her at her best, Mackenzie. I love you, Evan. I got what's her name to tweet back at me, Kristen Winnick. So I'm hoping for Evan Rachel Wood sooner or later. But yeah, no, I'll keep shilling it out. But I
Vikings. You had your Vikings moment.
Yeah, she's too desperate though. I was like, yeah.
One of the plot, or I don't want to say a plot hole, but one of the things that really kind of irked me that was left hanging is what happened to the people who were on ice. And then the second thing is the thing with the EMP that was never explained. So that kind of irked me.
Well, Reddit tried to explain it in various different ways.
Serac's brother dead because he was one of the frozen people, Serac's brother. So it makes you wonder if those people were reborn somehow. If Serac's brother is alive.
Yeah, because we were talking about it today. Like, so for instance, if the EMP goes off, anything mechanical would be dead. So the coffins or the pods that they're in, technologically speaking, should be shot. So does that mean that a door would just open and these people would wake? So that was left unanswered. And then the other thing was with the pearls. I suppose if they're housed in something like someone was saying, like a Faraday cage type thing, then perhaps they would be protected, but they never really explained that.
But that's the tech in Westworld. And then we talk about EMPs and we talk about like all this stuff. It's like the Bluetooth still worked. It's like there's such like detail like asserted to trying to figure out some aspects of Westworld's tech, and then it's dismissed completely in other instances. So it's like the EMP, yes, technically it could fry everything. I've had a lot of people in the comments from our last podcast, Jenny and Brett, telling me a whole bunch of different shit about how EMPs work. Some of them are green. My understanding is what I read.
I wasn't sure.
But I wasn't sure either, and I researched it to the bare minimum. You got people saying like people just like to use like these coin terms like that sound like somebody explained away why I don't want to say, but why the Bluetooth wouldn't work, and it just doesn't add up. It's just they use the technological term. It's like, listen, it's Westworld. Just start with the guns at the beginning and work your way up from there. It's like my thing is those people are no longer necessary for the story.
Yeah.
We only knew who one of them was. You're probably not gonna see them again. You know what I mean? It's just
as much as I want an Encino Man army, I think they're just going to leave it by the wayside at this point, because Kayla made a point. You're not allowing them to die. Yeah. So I'm assuming they allowed them to die, I guess.
Yeah, you have the
magic
right to
bullets.
Die.
That's all I got to say. Just go back to the magic bullets.
Well, and that does speak truth, though. I mean, one of the one things you can control, and one of the hardest things to control, but I think means a lot, at least to me, is to choose like the way in which, like death, in my opinion, is just losing dignity over and over. It is you go, and it's like, that's such a hard thing to deal with. So it's like letting somebody die and choose how they do it is very important. How you die is just as important as how you live, in my opinion. So it's like keeping me frozen. You know, Walt Disney kept himself frozen. He's like, ho, you know, he's a big piece of shit. You know, I mean, usually crazy people do that. So it's just like, let people make their own decisions. So it kind of goes along with the narrative. I mean, we don't know anybody else. It's not going to be like Frank that was frozen that we never got any story about.
I just sort of like, I mean, this is one thing that I get into fights with people about, like, say in Game of Thrones, when I'm like, okay, well, all right, they've established a world and what happens in that world and the physics of the world. So when they break the rules of the same world, it's irksome, you know? And that's how, you know, why people were like, well, it's fantasy. And I'm like, regarding Game of Thrones, or this is science fiction. I'm like, well, yeah, but it's science fiction. So it has to still follow the rules of logic and science in order to be that.
If you don't establish rules within any story and you don't stick and adhere to them, then you have a story that has no stakes. You have to tell people what can happen and what can't happen, and you have to be consistent. You can say that hot dogs can turn into airplanes that also work as bushes on the weekend. I just made that up. It's stupid. But if you stick to that...
I'd watch that.
Yeah, but if you stick to that series of events, I don't give a fuck what it is. Tell me there's an ice cream monster that you know, is also crucial to, like, the you know, saving the world, as long as he doesn't melt by the terrible, you know, thermostat monster. I don't care. Keep that thermostat monster within the parameters in which you've set, because all of a wizard is in a fantasy story is a scientist. They obtain knowledge that a fucking, you know, scientist does. They have knowledge other people don't know. They always die before they can give that knowledge because they wasted too much time. Just like we saw with that last episode, I joked on our podcast. It's always oh, you're not ready yet. It's like, why am I not? You wasted so much time. And it's like they never get to business and tell them what to do. But, you know, a scientist is for all intents and purposes, a wizard. You can adapt stories and, you know, deconstruct them and build them back up from the framework so many times. How many times have these classic movies like Casablanca been made and all this? They all use the same framework and they build in different ways. You can tell a story in many different ways. Again, you know, Westworld could definitely be told with like Serbs in Russia, you know, like before pre-World War I, post-World War I, you know, like any objectified peoples, you know, where they were being, you know, a higher power over them, and they were fighting for any type of, you know, personhood or freedom and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, you could tell this story in a different medium, but it's more relevant because you're using AI and things that are culturally relevant, and it hits home, and it adds layers. So it is what it is. But you're right. Just do what you said you're going to do. If you tell a story, you set the rules. It's kind of inexcusable to break those rules.
And I think the simplest, to just agree with Costume Co., the simplest of rules that was so difficult for them to establish all season is what amount of damage will prevent a host from continuing on. Clementine was a bullet sponge. At times early on, Dolores taking bullets hurt her, unless that was an act, because later on that didn't work. Maeve, same deal. Sometimes a sword would kill Maeve, though. So it's like, this is the simplest thing you need to establish to at least let us, like you said, feel some sort of emotional weight as these characters progress through their stories. And they couldn't even establish that. So I agree with you, Costume Co. And that was my biggest gripe that I had is, same with Game of Thrones, you can create whatever world you want. Just tell us the rules, and if you've done that, how hard is it over in the 8th season, in Game of Thrones case, you establish rules for 7 seasons, and then you throw it out in the 8th.
Well, yeah. I didn't see any issues with that whatsoever. I thought they did a good job. Right. No, but, you know, it's true, though, and they tried to do this with Hector's Pearl. But then it's always this ambiguity. But this is also the fucking dogma of this this whole fandom, because it was during the data transfer. That was the reason that it could either. It's funny how many things can be proof of it existing or proof of it's non-existent as well. You know what I mean? It's like, well, during that trade data, so it could still be there or this. You know, it's like, what is the like definitive proof of destroying a pearl? Also, the explosive in the spine. Like, that's supposed to be a way to get rid of them. So they've established it a little bit, but it's always like, you're right. They're always riding the line. And I have to feel like I can lose a character it also, please stop karate fighting when we know you can at least numb your pain. I I would think that, you know, like they would go about it differently. Like I know there's that, like, you know, effect of you need to feel emotions to have anything mean anything. But if you're I was a boxer. If I could turn down my pain for that boxing match, I was gonna do it every single time. You know what I mean? Like I don't get that.
Yeah, I thought Bernard's actually when he was on William, that seemed to me more realistic. It was like he turned his robot function on and was like without emotion, without pain, was it just able to deal with it? Whereas the fights between Dolores and Maeve, it felt like they were humans fighting each other.
Which are not.
Yeah.
Did anyone?
Yeah, he was badass.
Can anyone answer for me? Because I watched it twice trying to figure out exactly what it was that the Charlotte hologram did to stop Dolores. Because it's like she appeared and then Dolores just like stopped in the middle of the road and then she like shut down.
She had the contacts in and then she showed up. And
I saw Dolores' eyes do the little thing with the contacts, but I was like,
because the Hale version of herself was like, okay, we're done. So then she paid off the people that were supposed to be working with Dolores and turned them against them.
No, I mean when Dolores had finished fighting Maeve and left Maeve laying there, and then the Charlotte hologram showed up, and then Dolores just like dropped dead in the street. What did she do to her?
She had power.
Dolores had built a failsafe, right?
There was something there, and I'm like, what did she do?
Yeah, you're right, though. They didn't explain it.
But
yeah,
they did shut her off.
Yeah,
yeah.
Maeve's been walking through, turning TVs on and off. It's, you know, something they've been foreshadowing.
I know, it was just strange because
it's not like, great. It's not.
It was a hologram, and just like she just like shut her down, and there was no explanation. And I saw Dolores's contacts or whatever, her eyes, the little circles light up when she went down to her knees, but then like I couldn't figure out what she did to stop her. That's why I went back and watched it twice, because I was confused.
She did something that Maeve couldn't do either. Yeah. So I wonder if it's tied to the fact that they're both Dolores. They're something to do with the fact that they both started out as Dolores. She had some sort of power.
And that could be
the mesh network. Right.
Well, she said that I knew that you had made a plan to control me and stop me, so I did the same thing.
Yeah,
that's all we get of it as well. And Maeve threatened to do this the whole time, but never did it. I'd like to add that. Yeah, she just kept threatening to get in her head and never really did.
But I think that the reason that Dolores ran from her when she wanted to get into her head was because she wanted Maeve to make the decision without any of her influence. And that's why she was trying to keep Maeve from doing that. And that made sense to me. But the whole thing with Charlotte stopping her in the middle of the street, I was very confused.
Can I I'm sorry, guys. Can I ask a question just about Charloris and Dolores Prime? Mm-hmm. Okay, so season 2. Correct me if I again. Feel free to shit on me if you guys already knew the answer.
We shall chat on Robert or
Thank
Roger.
You.
Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Season 2. You have Charloris, the original Charloris, leaves the park. She goes to Arnold's house in Singapore or wherever he had. I think it was Singapore, right?
It's Asian.
Or Hong Kong.
It's Asian.
Yeah. Does she print out a version of Dolores and then get in something that takes her pearl out of Charloris and put it into Dolores Prime? Or does she create another Charlotte bot to help her with that? What?
That's a good question.
Can someone explain to me the timeline?
Yeah, we need a flow chart.
Of how, and then so does that mean there's 2 Charloris bots hanging around?
Oh god! Dude.
I just assumed that
it's a chicken and an egg situation, right?
Right. Which came first?
That's a chicken and egg situation. I mean, I'm lost on that one. I can't get you.
I've always assumed that she built Dolores Prime body, and then there's some sort of mechanical arm that was able to take the pearl out of Halebot's head and put it in Dolores's new body. And then from there, she used one of the pearls she had and put it in Hale's body.
Oh, that automation.
She didn't print, but here's the kicker to that. Here's the clinker.
Fuck.
We see another Charlotte being printed in Arnold's cave.
Yeah.
In the lab.
I thought it was
Was that
That is true.
Was that another one, or was
She
that
put the
just
other.
Yeah.
She put the other Charlotte in the recycling.
Yeah,
Got
did
it.
you-
She was like,
In the co-
we're
in
gonna
the
we don't need this
compost.
anymore.
She put her in the
Right.
compost.
yeah, I don't
Again,
need this
establish
version.
some fucking rules.
Well, because she had to scalp herself, and so like, what would you do? Would she have the field technology to then reattach the back of
Yeah,
her skull together?
exactly.
So
I
they have
hired
to,
this one guy for information. I mean, maybe he helped her. The guy that got interviewed
maybe
by
they
The
had
Rock
like
and
an
Maine
Igor.
in Bernard's old house, or Arnold's old house. But yeah, there's a lot of holes. Like
There's
I got
Igor,
lost on
like,
the
yes,
Kenji stream last
Matthew.
week,
Here's the
just
thing.
poking holes and everything, and I couldn't stop. And I was like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, you think it's
The whole
some,
thing's a situation. Come on.
You think it's some Kobe Jack, and then it's Swiss cheese all over the fucking place. But the thing is, I like Kobe Jack. Also, what do we think about the whole thread of Dolores finding that Caleb is worth investing in after he's being tortured when she knew him before? Like, does this take away from that? I gotta say, it's a little problematic.
It does.
I don't like that.
Like the whole part is I thought she would.
I
be
wanted
able to
true
find
love.
someone
I
who-
wanted true connection,
or someone who she could identify
That's what I
herself
meant,
within. Yeah, and it completely flies in the face of everything because it seems so simple that, oh, this is just a guest that I enjoyed. Well, what happened to all the other guests that she reminisced upon that also treated her well? Why not look up the little girl that she was playing with the flower with? Why not look her up, see what she's doing? She has.
Well, hang on. Was it because he was an outlier?
I don't.
He has a tragic
I'm
backstory.
But why do they? Here's the thing: is when you lie to just the audience, when you deceive just us, there is no reason within the story to show us what Dolores did.
Right.
That is when you run into a problem with stories. When I've talked about this, I'm sorry, but when it happens, I have to. When you deceive the audience just to deceive the audience, and it's not your character that is deceiving another character, it is not okay. It's an insult in intelligence. It is, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, people don't like it. I've talked about the Bran scene with Littlefinger. They cut that scene where they all hatched their plot with Sansa and Arya, and Bran, and then they cut that scene because they're Dan and fucking Dave, and they're like, oh yeah, no reason. And then we all felt like, what the fuck was this? Because then they sprung it on us that they were all in league together. Don't trick us. There is no.
Can I make you go insane, Justin? This is for you too, and I want you to start off with this. People are using the inconsistencies as still it's a simulation theory.
My good
Just
God.
saying.
Let me tell you guys something. If you cannot accept that what you see doesn't make sense to you, so it thus must be something that you yourself have crafted, and let me remind you, almost all of you have been for this all incorrect every single time. Brett is the only one that's ever given me a sound methodology. And again, I don't give a shit. There is value.
Brett rocks.
There is fucking value here, guys. This is really pisses me off. Okay. People on YouTube, especially, there is value to mass speculation, wild speculation, because it immerses us in the story more. It makes us re-engage. Don't mistake yourself for an educator because you built a school. Okay? You're not educating. You don't know anything about story structure if you're just making mad speculation. But hear me out. There's much value to what you do, and the reason you have a lot of subs. People enjoy that. They like thinking about the story in a different way. Don't take that. You gotta dance with who brung you. Remember how you got to where you're at. Okay? And then start to say, it's not everything I think is going to be the truth, because it never has been. First off, ever. And second off, it's a big problem for you to look at a situation which you don't understand and then come to the conclusion that it must be a simulation because God forbid you're incorrect. That shows a lot. And these YouTubers, listen, I'm a piece of crap myself. I don't know, whatever. But it's like, I try to be honest. And I really appreciate somebody that can say, what does this do for the story? What within the context of this story has been established? Not just, this would be fun. This would be cool. That would be fine if you stick to that. But then this happens with what we're seeing now. They ignore these facts because there's no way, because their ego has been fed so much, and it's just insane to me. I can't deal with it. I'm so sick of it. It's crazy. And it'd be fine if they just said, I make up crazy shit.
Is by the way, I was wondering, have Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan, are they doing a season wrap up? Has anybody seen anything on YouTube about that? Usually they do, just sort of talk about.
Well, yeah, they went on an apology tour after season 2, but I mean, maybe, I don't know. I mean, they got like 3 years. I'm just, Johnny, who's saying this still? Like, don't.
I mean, I'm just seeing people in the chat. There's people that are on Twitter. There's still people that are going with the simulation theory because of all the inconsistency.
It's the negative longitudes are making people assume that this is a sim. That's one thing that I see people constantly bring up. Second thing is inconsistencies. Like, what we're seeing some real and then some simulations.
Okay.
And it all has to do with the longitude and the fact that sometimes San Francisco is on the left side of Rehoboam, and then the other half, and then it's on the bottom right hand side.
And Rehoboam has been established as what? Unreliable.
A great.
Right. How much faith do we have in Rehoboam after this episode?
It's also a sphere instead of a circle, so you could just be looking at it from a different angle.
Okay, as soon as you high concept story. Okay, this means it's for everybody. What Brett just said was incredibly intelligent. Trust me, that does not factor in the writer's room. Not that it's not a smart show. They gave you the story. Please consider what the story means, and if you don't like it, that's fine. And if you want to make it something else, address it as fan fiction, and that's also fine as long as it's enjoyable. It's a content creator. Content is a sponge. We squeeze it, you get as much joy out of it as possible. But that's fine however you do it, because there's a lot of value to a lot of different methods. I'd like to say things because I'm a student of literary criticism, of story theory. I really try to educate myself. I don't like it when people make these crazy claims and they're just like, this is what happens, and then they just keep sticking by them, and it just flies, and everybody is like, oh yeah, that's so smart. I'm like, but it's entertaining, but how is that smart? It's just blatantly not true.
Even always entertaining.
No, it's not. I'm trying to be nice.
Is this like tinfoil hat type stuff? Are you talking about?
Well, it's the norm, unfortunately. Yeah, it's the simulation thing is dead.
Theory.
Well, I think that how I look at it is you have to take the show, and like any show, and the information that they are presenting, you have to assume that that's what's actually happening. So I always feel it's a little bit underhanded if they're doing stuff like that. It's a bit jumping the shark kind of stuff. So I just am watching the show as they're showing it to us. So all these mirror theories or simulation theories and so on, I don't see any evidence of it. And, Justin, today you and I were talking about that whole thing with the patterning of, Dolores with Rehoboam, and then, or maybe she's with Solomon, and then Maeve's outfit.
With Solomon, and that's that's like injected in for a reason. Those are little nods.
Yeah. So I'm always like, yeah, but then there was a couple of things that happened in season 1 that I was like, oh, those totally fell flat. Like nothing, like to do with Robert's wedding ring was on the opposite side a couple of times. Like one time it was on like his left side, another time it was on his right side. And I was like, well, this can't be a continuity thing, but nothing ever came of it. You know what I mean? So sometimes I'm wondering, maybe they do screw up and have like a second, or what do you call it? A Starbucks cup. Oh yeah.
Everything from all the seasons is a simulation, and in the end, we will get the reveal
of what.
I hate that though.
Of what?
I hate that because that's like kind of like Bobby Ewing, in the shower, and his wife walks in, and
Dallas.
From Dallas, if anybody knows that really super old reference.
No, I do, because it ruined the show.
From when we were kids.
I said, what?
I'm not
Hey,
even.
Roger.
Mackenzie wasn't even a glimmer in Larry Hagman's eye.
Well, I was a kid when Dallas was on.
Okay.
I wasn't, but I remember this.
But yeah, I would think something like that's just going to be,
it's insulting.
Would be a slap.
And it means everything meant nothing, and it doesn't do any service. Okay, Roger does have to leave. I want closing thoughts from him. Thank you so much for coming finally.
Hey man, this is fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed myself. And it was cool meeting all these other content creators. I think one of the cool thing about, again, thank God we're living in this time that we have. I know we just like shit on technology because of Westworld and, you know, social contracting or social what did you use the word? No. Social engineering.
Oh, social engineering.
And conditioning. And sometimes that was the whole theory or a lot of what they were at least trying to introduce in Westworld. But thank God we have this, right? It's especially during a time like this where we are supposed to be social distancing to prevent the spread of a highly infectious disease. And it's just so cool to see other people who have a passion, connecting with other people, talking about something honestly, in a format like this. I just think it's so cool. And so I really appreciate there's a real brotherhood and sisterhood of content creators, independent ones anyway. So it's really neat. And it's nice to know that I'm not alone in doing this. So no, it was very nice meeting you, Justin. Thank you so much. It's so cool to see your stream page and how you've come so far from just that little DM about, hey, what microphone should I buy if I want to start my own podcast?
Which is weird because I was a DJ for 10 years. I kind of knew. So to be honest, I was Dolores in you. I just wanted,
Oh, cool. All right, well then.
Well, that's cool. More of a compliment because, you know what I mean? Like, I just wanted, you guys' format inspired me because of your three, because you gave, you know, your Instacast. Then I thought it was so smart and I saw the business side of it. And I also saw that you guys don't all necessarily agree. And if you can't tell, I've said this. I've formatted. I've had to my detriment people I definitely don't agree with. You know what I mean? Like, but you have to have that. You have to have that, else you're just gonna have an ass kissing competition. You know. And I really love what you guys do over there. It's
well, thanks.
Good. So you're an inspiration.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Stop it. Keep them coming though. Nice to meet everyone. Enjoy. I'm gonna go watch the season 5. Part B season 4 part B of Rick and Morty.
I was gonna say Pornhub, but it's fine. no, thank you.
Maybe afterwards. We'll see. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Thank you, Roger.
Bye.
Thank you, Roger.
No, there is value in these theories. It's just it's important to remember what got you to where you're at, because I think a lot of people think that they can, you know, be authorities on something that, and by no means is their success a product of that. And that's what gets me. Like, if Brett got like really big on YouTube because of theories, that would make sense, because I'd be like, okay, that guy actually, like, you know, gave me methodology, you know. I'd be like, but guess what? That probably is just gonna piss people off. They're like, fuck him and all of his facts. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
On that point of simulation, I will just say real quick, the only time that I even popped in my head was when the stinger, when William is walking into the Dubai offices and there's a, you know, crystal blue sky, everything looks normal when we're led to believe that the world is crashing down around them. So I thought that was strange.
But it is Dubai.
It is Dubai. I mean, it's probably nothing. I just thought it was a little odd.
And I think that they do this on purpose to a point, because they understand look at their digital marketing. Look at how much they've engaged us and immersed us into this world. And a big inspiration from this is immersion theater. They want this type of shit, because this is not like inherently stupid or bad or without value. It's just a problem that people start assuming they can now just, like, they're fucking Hemingway. You know what I mean? Because I mean, my biggest theory that I ever did was one that I made just because I had to have context for a geography video that we were doing on Winterfell. And everybody loved it. And I got in a bunch of fucking websites for it. Like, Justin Thomas says this. I said in the video, I don't believe this. Like, I don't believe it, like, whatsoever. But people loved it. You know what I mean? I mean, so there's value in it, but I don't know. Just remember who brought you to the dance, I guess, is my point.
Heidi, do you have like a public service message you would like to send out?
Oh, yeah, I have to sort of, I have to go, guys. I'm so sorry, but I want to invite everybody tomorrow. By the way, it's May the 4th be with you right now. And tomorrow I'm having a live stream with Roger Christian, who is the creator of the lightsaber. And I'm extremely excited. So I hope you guys will pop in. That's why I have to go, because I have to sleep and get up and be ready.
Why is the person that created lightsaber more important than me?
He's not.
No, he is.
2
No, what do you mean he's
a.m.
not?
Justin. It's 2 a.m.
But I want
is,
to.
yeah.
I don't want to have bags under my eyes.
Mhm.
And
Heidi, number one, he's way more
it's at
important
1.
than
It's
I
at
am.
1 p.m. But I have to get up early and stuff. And
Heidi,
but-
he's more important. Trust me. Yeah.
But
No.
anyway, so it's a really exciting event, and I hope you guys will pop in. And I'm giving away a book as well. And then the last 15 minutes, we're gonna let if people have questions. So if people have questions they want to ask him, so because he created the Millennium Falcon, like the interior. He made R2-D2. He made Luke's lightsaber, all like Han Solo's blaster. So he's like a very cool, and also he worked on Alien as well.
Ask
Nerd
him
radar
this: if
going
I
off.
can't make it, ask him why don't they turn off the lightsaber when they block it and turn it back on to /0. I'd like to know that.
Well, it's funny because one of the things I had to actually, Rebecca, who's one of the girls who I do the Creatives Guild with, I was like, what's that expression when like they take something that was invented like a long time ago and then they sort of change it up like to
Retcon.
fit the story? Yeah, and she's like, it's retcon, and I'm like, wow, there's like a lot of that going on. So I think when he did stuff, it was like a totally different story. And then like A.U. Packmule was asking me about the crystal that goes in the lightsaber, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't even know what that is. I guess it's
Spiritual. That's what
it's
that is.
from, if AU's in the chat still, I think it's from the Clone Wars. So this is the thing. So I'm like, I was 10 when Star Wars came out. So I'm like old school. I won't even call it A New Hope. That's how.
Yeah,
So,
it's a
Roger's
magical
like
aspect. The precious stones give it power. It's an element of the earth.
But Justin, I just want to thank you so much for having me on. I've really enjoyed Westworld with like doing, having you on my show, coming on your show. I really apologize for your birthday because I think I got really drunk, and hopefully I didn't
Don't make an
fool
apology
of myself.
no, you didn't at all, and don't do that because then we all have to apologize for it. So don't set that precedent. Yeah.
And also just hanging out with Johnny and Mackenzie, and we've talked about doing a show together. So I really look. And Mackenzie and I are from the same city. It's so awesome.
Yeah, you Canadians. I mean, you got to figure.
Conspiracy.
Yeah, there's only 7 of you. What's the chances of that? Thousands of miles.
Well, and Roger Christian's also from Toronto. So where he lives in Toronto. He's from England originally. So I don't know if Mackenzie knew that.
Betrayer to the crown.
Okay, guys. So take care. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Yeah, and it is 2 o'clock. We'll start to close it up. Let's get some Jenny and Brett in here.
Yes, I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, sorry. But let's say Brett, what say you about any speculation and you don't even have to, because it's on the spot, back it up. Well, you'll eventually have to back it up, but for next season. Like
Can I put to Jenny first, because I know she has some notes, and I wanted to see what's.
No, I said you first. That's the way it's going. No, I'm joking. Yeah. How dare you, sir? Yeah, go ahead.
I really didn't have a whole lot other than, I kind of made some of the points that I had written in my notes, but one of the things I was kind of like feeling a little justified on was that I've said all season that Dolores is a gray hat, and I stand with that. Like because she just was trying to give people a choice, and she did what she meant to do, and I felt vindicated in sticking with that all season, and I was kind of glad to see that. I agree with what everyone was saying earlier, that Evan Rachel Wood will probably be back. I was sad to not see Anthony Hopkins this season. Beyond that, I don't really have a whole lot more to say right now. I've got another podcast to do this week, but
when is that?
Well, we will be recording on Tuesday, and it will go out on Wednesday. The Westworld Theory Cast on DVR Podcast Network.
Never heard of it, but I heard that host might be all right.
That bomb cast.
No, Brett, what do you foresee for the future of Westworld?
Good question. I will say I was right about the key being in Bernard's head. I've been saying that.
Yes.
Boom.
I was like, yes.
So at least I got something right. But I will say this finale is much more of a cliffhanger than the first two seasons. In my opinion, those kind of wrapped up in a beautiful way, even though it still left the story open to continue. Whereas here, there's just a lot of questions, I feel like. So there was no good resolution. I mean, obviously there's like an end of an act, but I felt like it wasn't as much of a resolution as past seasons. As far as going forward, good question. I just think this, whatever Bernard saw in the virtual Eden is critical. I just don't know what it is.
It's like darkness. It's nothing but darkness. My explanation for that, and it's not being an apologist, but the first season was can they, and they could, so you got more of the definitive answer for that. Then it was how do they to get out of the park. Now they're not going anywhere else. Now they've destructed the world, seemingly, or a part of it, except for Dubai. I don't know why they left that out, but anyways, so now it's a little bit harder to get definitive answers because there's a big transition for every season before. Get what I mean? So like this one, they're staying within the same, and I know they stayed within the park in season 1, but they became they. You know what I mean? So like I think that's like probably just like at least a reasonable assessment, but it still feels the way it feels. You just don't feel like it was as conclusive as
well, I feel like season 3 and season 4 will almost be like one season. Like this is a continuation of this host revolution.
Yes,
you kind of had that with season 1, but you felt more satisfied. Dolores actually getting to kill the god that was controlling her this whole time, whereas Caleb, like we said, Serac didn't even really get a good death here. And, him being still alive or not, I don't even know if it matters at this point because Caleb does have control of Rehoboam. So
unless Burger King's hiring, then he might apply and not get it. And I would say that's right on the money, actually, Johnny, for the way in which a story is structured. This is now like their plan of action. It will fail, they will overcome, and then the last season will show the resolution. Like this is at the point. Because you have character development and you have plot. So we had both of that in season 1. Characters, they experience the differences, in events, the change of events, but they changed the events themselves through their characters who experienced it. Season 2, they needed to get out of the park. They had some self-realization, meaning internal and external. This season is a little bit more obviously conventional, and it's harder, like what you really got to do. I think they did try to do a hard conclusion with that half-stepped bombing, which I think is not that smart to do. Like I think they wanted that same feel. Like maybe that was the reason for it at the rewatch, but they'd be like, "Oh, we got to do something big." You know what I mean? Like we'll blow up shit. They're like, then what? They're like, "Wow, fucking, we'll say we rebuilt it or something." So it's interesting.
What happened with the thing with Lawrence? I mean, was Lawrence really just there to give that to Bernard? Because he's like, we got fireworks planned for later, and then we never saw him again.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was
I was disappointed not to see him again, and maybe he'll be back in season 4, but just that one scene wasn't enough for me.
Well, and they definitely left that hanging.
That answer doesn't seem to satisfy you, as Bernard to me would say. Yeah, it's they bring him back for a cameo. He's like, "Oh, what part do I play?" They're like, "What?" They're not. You just
yourself.
You say some shit. And he's like, "All right, how much you paying me?" Like, same. He's like, "All right, that's good." No, but I do like him. I think that somebody brought up the Man in Black, situation. That would be interesting. Because there is some fucking reckoning to do.
Oh, you had a super chat earlier, right? That
Atheist Bear. Yeah.
Atheist. I love him so much. He is a cuddly. He doesn't believe in any divine power, which is fine. But he's a cuddly bear still, and thank you so much.
If you want to know, it said the Bernard Arnold loop closed beautifully. That's what it said.
Goddamn right it did, Atheist Bear. You're gosh darn right it did, sir. No, he's the best.
And
Arnold is alive again. Now it has a baby Stubbs to take care of when he wakes up.
Yeah, Johnny, we all know that though.
So did Dolores? I'm sorry.
No, go.
Did Dolores tell Lawrence to tell Bernard to go to Arnold's wife's house? Was that Dolores wanting him to do that, and why?
And was
Well,
that
here-
the case that
I got the
Musashi
answer.
gave to his guy to deliver to him? I assume that it was, but
Hold on, I'll call.
Very
I'll call
important
Nolan.
case. No, I
So,
think I
Johnny-
know why Dolores did that. It goes back to that which is real is irreplaceable, and Bernard trying to suppress his memories of Charlie, thinking of them as nothing but pain. But he comes to a different conclusion here. He comes to hold on to these memories, wants to keep them. It seemed like they had been somewhat torturing him, but he got a little bit of closure in his life, and I think he needed that to be able to make the right decisions going forward. And also, this proves to him who Dolores really is. I don't know if he would be able to find out who she really is without this, because I believe in the end, the original Dolores Abernathy knew she was going to die to be able to achieve this dream. So.
Wow, that's actually
Yeah,
really well. And
that's how I
Nolan
would
just
connect
said that's actually really well put. He said, "Yeah, I needed all that." That is so true. They need that to happen in the story. Now, how did that happen? Don't look into it. Okay, yeah. Nolan says don't look into it, but that is correct. Because that is true though. Like that is what needed to happen emotionally, and that like how could he understand her approach or her philosophy? So it's one of those things. It's like I don't know. Like if you want to believe that's where the case went, I guess that's better. Because like Jenny, we talk about you looked into it and didn't get better. That's the worst. Like because you think you're gonna investigate and figure it out, and you're like, oh shit, it makes less sense now.
Also, Bernard's been suppressing the Charlie part of his storyline this entire season, like the scenes with the children passing by, and you saw the flash of Charlie. Like he's been trying to suppress that part of his life, and of course they had to bring back Lauren, which is his ex-wife, or Arnold's ex-wife, and to have that sort of moment, because I think we're not going back to that. Like that part of him is like gone, like kind of like how everybody else's parts of themselves, majority of them, their old self for the most part is gone, because they're all now recreations of memory of versions of themselves. So it's almost like that as well. And I think I mentioned it in the like Justin, I think you mentioned it before about the Caleb being shot on like Twitter or something like that, and I still think that was going to happen. Like the fact, I think I mentioned it here, that
I thought Serac shot him when I was watching, didn't you?
Yeah, I almost thought that as well. But I feel like that he did at one point probably end up shooting himself in the head, but he was saved. And then the prediction of the 5 to 10 years, like you will die in 5 to 10 years, was him being let go of his duty, which was like the act of service, because he was still technically in the system, but just the system was going to let him go at that point. But I think in terms of everything that's happened this season and simulation theory and all of this stuff, it's everything we've seen up to this point seems like it's happened in real time and in real life. The one gripe now that everybody's going to talk about Caleb and Dolores and their relationship and how he knew her before, that it's just another mirroring of season 1 beforehand, of William being the good guy, not wanting to divulge into the animalistic part of their life, like how the rest of the people in his squad were like, well, no one's watching us anymore, and then there's all of these women that are just sitting here, like, why don't we just partake in what the rich people do? And it's like that part. I think it was like another mirroring of, this is William, and now William has went bad, even though he's not bad with being in control of Solomon / Rehoboam.
I'm the one that knocks. Yeah. I mean, I've seen proof straying from like Brett's proof, which was like the best, and then he doesn't answer Francis's phone call, but then the next thing he's on the phone with Francis. It's like, guess how phones work? Like, you can do that. That's a thing that you can do. You can call somebody back.
Can we explain why he has the same ID number as William? Does that make any more sense now?
Nope.
No, there's no point. Maybe they just fucked up is what I'm going with at this point, because my God, I don't know where they're trying to tie this in unless we see two different timelines.
Some people were saying that it seemed like they were doing it to hide one from the system.
That was
or
me.
something.
That some people.
And so I couldn't remember who said it, Justin. So here you go.
Yeah, I was the fool.
Anyway.
I mean, I'm not bragging.
No, I'm saying that still makes sense that they could have been using one to hide the other, and it's like it is what it is, and it's not that big a fucking deal.
Yeah, here's my take, guys. Like when I say things about this stuff, like I think they do this on purpose because it's part of their plan to. They know the engagement is fueled by this. I think they do these things on purpose. They're with intent. I don't believe those numbers because there is a high amount of supervision. There is so many levels. There's at least 3 to 4 levels of people that looked from the daily to, first off, they had to do graphic work on that, to then the approving of it, script supervisors, people that are all about continuity. If I have this in my hand, in my right hand one day, and we have to stop shooting, it'll be in there. If I had like a pimple, they'll fucking recreate it, you know? Like, it is going to be on point. Like, it is not likely for them to make a mistake like that. It's likely for them to know that Reddit loves it and YouTubers love it, and that feeds viewership. You know what I mean? Like, like it or hate it, that's the most logical answer, in my opinion, because you either have to think that these people that are dynamic, brilliant filmmakers, you know, I mean, I'm not saying they're like the best in the world, but they are one of the best. They're up there for a series. They're fucking idiots. Are there? Yeah, they're a little bit opportunistic, and they like to feed into it because, again, there's value to those types of discussions. But when people start considering themselves a professor of literary criticism after it, there's no value to it. So that's where I draw the line. But that's it.
Well, I mean, even House of Rock didn't, when he saw Caleb at Solomon, you know, this backs up your theory that it was just covering up Caleb because he was like, who the hell is this? Why am I just seeing this now? It's like Caleb was an anomaly to him that he never saw coming. And really quick, Brian Aiden said, even Maeve said on the bridge, you're turning him into another William. I think the whole purpose of this and what we saw from Dolores was her deliberately trying to make amends for what she thinks she did to William. You know, because, well, I mean, William is, it's just to make amends for humanity. I think she saw something.
I'm about to link his video because Johnny did a really good Wyatt video that, like, really, I think, and I'm biased, but whatever, I also focus paneled it, or and it's really fucking good because I think that if Nolan were to sit down, enjoy, and watch his video, they would say that's a sentiment. That's on point. This is the parallel that's being made. Now, like, you can make parallels with other people, but it shows the parallels that are the most impactful and the most, like, prevalent in the ones that really show how they tell this story. When you notice things are too similar or too off, they're usually for a reason. Like, and it's either, to feed into that whole viral marketing, but also to mirror things. Yes, mirror world. Stop literally taking everything literal. Sorry. Go ahead. I'm going to link that.
Yeah, I mean, well, in that video, I make this case that Caleb is the Dolores of the real world, and he will take the same path as she does from this season, where he was just a passenger riding along, trying to figure out who he is, coming to the revelation, defeating his god. Now, next season, he's on the warpath. What decisions he makes, how much of a gray hat character he becomes, I think is going to be a beautiful thing. I think they've set it up very, very well at this point. And I'll let you just go watch the video.
I'm linking it right now. It's just something that I find is so, like, relevant, and it's a good example of, like, the type of storytelling in which they're partaking in, and I think it's just beneficial. I think it's one of the best videos for Westworld that's been made because it's fun, and it does have, like, you know, very little, like, unconstituted, like, speculation, like none actually whatsoever. You actually leave out, like, parallels that you mentioned. You're like, there's a lot of other ones too, but it's not even necessary to bring up because there's a lot of those. You know what I mean? Let me bring up where these connections and what they mean for the story. So, but again, if you want to make a wacky video, that's fucking fun. That's fun as hell. I make them every once in a while, you know, but I mean, I just get mad because I do it to, like, the Caleb thing. I put this on Twitter. It's like, what? Because Johnny's just like me, a small content creator, but it's like, you know, making this great video and it's like a few hundred views. And it's like, what? Do people just not give him a chance because of the views and subs? He's got a low amount of subs. You know what I mean? Like, are they just, like, is he not going to get, like, a large channel that we see so many people have that, like, make these crazy claims because people just won't invest in him because they think it's not of substance. This view count on YouTube is so skewed, and it's not a good example of the quality of the content. I mean, so I just hope the cream will rise to the top, and I truly believe Johnny is the cream. Yeah.
All right,
I
Justin.
appreciate that.
I gotta get off of here. It's
do.
been great being on here with you guys, but I am going to bail. So thank you for having me on tonight. It was great chatting with everyone. Thanks to all the people in the chat. Y'all have a great night.
Yep, we're
Bye,
all going to be getting
Jenny.
off right now. The round
All right.
table was fun.
Bye.
Jenny, I will see you on Tuesday. Brett, people are loving your theory. It's actually got like 3,000 views now. And yeah, and and it's a pretty long video. So like on YouTube, that's especially for my channel, that's decent. In the comments are mostly positive, and on YouTube, that's also like a good sign. Like nobody told you to die of AIDS. Like I've gotten that, you know what I mean? So like, people
Awesome.
honestly enjoy your content. So I really am always a supporter of people that are at least authentic, and I don't have to agree with your conclusion. And I know that you're not like married to everything you say too. Like that helps. You're not like I judge my whole life on this theory. It's like, oh shit, dude.
Not at all.
You're gonna be on that bridge.
Well, I really appreciate that, Justin.
No
All the work that you do, man. It's awesome.
Definitely. We'll be on one last time for the foreseeable future for Westworld on Tuesday. Johnny Be Crazy and Mackenzie, those are my people that are always there behind the scenes and on the camera, so everybody can plug what they need to plug. Thank you guys so much. Westworld is a fantastic show. Even in its faults, it opens up a conversation that is just so compelling. So, when something can fuck something up and lead to something advantageous, you gotta fucking see the virtue in that. So remember to support my Patreon. $3 a month makes a big difference to me. Brett, you just became a Patreon, which I feel guilty about. But don't stop doing it. I do need the money. You know what I mean? Just keep doing it though. I'm gonna try to get out stuff for you guys that's meaningful and so forth. So we've seen an influx in supportive creativity, and I can't thank you guys enough. Westworld was a hell of a time. We will see you guys in hospice when we watch the next season.
That's right. I'll have my catheter in and ready. I won't have to go use the bathroom during streams. It'll be very streamlined.
We'll be on the same urinary track of consciousness. Yeah. Okay, so now
there we go.
Definitely time.
That didn't get weird.
Definitely time to end the stream. All right, Jenny, Mackenzie, everybody. Thank you guys so much. And we will be talking about other television shows because they do exist. So we hope. I'll look into it. All right, we'll see you guys soon.